Okay, cool. Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is the indie pop storyteller you didn't know you needed on your playlists. Born and raised in the Midwest with a passion for writing honest, heartfelt lyrics, this Chicago artist is one to remember. Welcome, Zoe.
Hi, thank you for having me. That was so sweet.
um,
Thank you so
so
much.
no problem. So I always kind of like to start off with kind of going into where your journey with music all kind of started.
hmm So I started releasing my own music about a year ago, a little more than a year ago now, which is so crazy. But yeah, I started in theater. I started in musical theater and I did a lot of that stuff. I downloaded FL Studio like one day and I kind of tried to like play around with beats and kind of gave up on becoming a producer like so quickly. But yeah, and then I just started like writing and releasing and it all kind of happened pretty quickly. I started when like COVID was at its peak, so like I definitely think that was like a huge thing for me. Like I definitely think if COVID didn't happen, like I would not have started music. So that's kind of what happened to me.
How did it kind of go from musical theater to like I
hmm
guess commercial music, if you will? Like
hmm
where was that kind of transition?
Um, I feel like I didn't realize like I've known for a long time like oh I just really like to sing and I just really like to I guess perform and stuff like that, but I just kind of told myself that I could never write. Like I just thought like songwriting and singing was this huge like two individual things, and like I feel like it's really not. So I don't know. I just kind of like tried it out and I kind of like got inspiration from a lot of poetry and stuff like that. And yeah, it just kind of happened, I guess.
Um, do you play any instruments or is it just
No,
voice?
no, I don't. So, well, I mean, I can clunk out like some stuff on piano, but like I can't really play piano. But yeah, I can mainly I'm just like singing and songwriting. So, yeah.
So how do you kind of then develop songs beyond like just lyrics and kind of figuring out what the like sonic
Mhm.
structure is to it? Is that an individual process? Is that a collaborative
Mhm.
thing? How does that work?
Oh, it's always a collaborative thing for sure. Like I love like all my producers that I've worked with or that I've done anything with. So I've worked with a lot of producers or like people that actually like do play instruments. So that's been like a huge thing for me, and yeah, it's been super cool.
When was it that it kind of went from, okay, like I'm doing this musical theater thing and now I'm like just kind of doing more just music in itself? And then when did you kind of turn that I'm starting to write these songs into this is like pursuing an artist career is what I ultimately want to be doing? Like where was that
hmm
kind of change?
hmm That's so interesting because I feel like I never had like that weird middle ground of like, oh, I'm just releasing music as a hobby. Like I did know like kind of right away that I wanted to do it, but it was definitely after like my very first song, which was Across the Room. I released that and I don't know, I guess like I was kind of just like, oh, I guess I'll release this, whatever. But I did get like a lot of good like feedback from it from my family and friends and just people from like where I'm from. And that really inspired me. It really pushed me a lot, especially to hear like the support from the people you love or the people that are from where you're from. Um, I don't know. That really did motivate me to keep making music. And yeah, I feel like I definitely started, like, taking it seriously, like, right away, kind of, so, yeah.
Did you just, I mean, did you just kind of release your first thing on a whim? Like, how did you kind of decide, okay, like I'm messing around writing these things, and then it turned into, no, I'm
Mhm,
gonna put these things out there?
mhm. Um, I feel like no, I did have that weird kind of like, "Oh, I wrote this song," but I'm sure every artist has gone through it of being like, "Okay, how do I release?" Like, I didn't even know how to release music, you know what I mean? I was just like, "Oh, like, okay, cool, I'm not signed to a label, so how am I supposed to" but I don't know. I feel like I really just looked into it more, and I think that was a huge realization that I had, and that's another thing that inspired me was like, "Oh, I do have the ability to do this by myself. Like, I can release music, I can be independent, I can do this, and I don't necessarily, need anybody else, like, by my side to do it," even though I did, of course, but, um, yeah, so I think that was, like, a big thing for me was just realizing that it was easier than I thought, and yeah.
What inspires your writing a lot of the time? Like, is there something like a commonality between a lot of the things that cause you to write music? Like, what is it that kind of inspires like a lot of your songwriting?
Mhm. A lot of things. I feel like obviously stuff in my life, I feel like songwriting is a huge way to outlet how you feel or outlet what you're going through. But other than that, I would say at this point, I think the people that listen to my music, that really inspires me a lot. People just saying like, "Oh, I love this song," or whatever. Even if it's just a short little message, like it really, I don't know, it motivates me to write more. But I would say like other things that I guess inspire like my lyrics are, I would say I don't know, a lot of things. The city, I love like traveling and stuff like that. I think that stuff's really inspiring. People, my friends in my life, um, and yeah, other artists also, of course. So yeah.
Is there any common like themes amongst like the different like songs whether that you've ones that you've put out already or haven't put out already, like things that are like
Mm,
topics within your song that you would find like happen a lot versus don't really
mhm,
happen?
mhm. That's a good question. I feel like I don't know because I definitely write a verse about like a versatile amount of things, whether it's like being mad or being sad or like happy or things that have happened to me. But no, I guess not. I don't know. There's stuff that I would really like to kind of write more about. Um, like I don't know, I really want to start writing more about heartbreak and kind of like going through the emotions of that for sure. Because I feel like I haven't wrote like a ton about that. But yeah, I would say it's pretty versatile for sure.
How would you describe your music for somebody who's never heard it?
Ooh. Um, hmm, hmm. I feel like it's kind of a blend of like commercial kind of indie pop, unique but different type of thing, but also really meaningful lyrics and really classic songwriting ability, I guess.
Are there any like existing artists out there that you think your sound is similar to, like from a comparison standpoint?
Yes, oh my gosh, it changes all the time. I feel like my inspiration and all that kind of stuff changes. But yeah, I would say I love Tame Impala. That's a big one for me. Billie Eilish is also a big one for me. Love her. I take inspiration from like her lyrics especially a lot. Like specifically. Um, so yeah, I love Willow also. She's a good one. Um, so yeah.
A little bit of everything then kind of. I
Yeah,
wouldn't I
right?
wouldn't
It's like
exactly put Tame Impala and Willow in the same
right,
category.
right. I know. I would like love it if they collaborated, but yeah, I guess it's kind of just combining the two. I guess that's what makes it unique.
Is there a release or a song that you've written that you think best embodies you as an artist? Like if you had one song to kind of sell somebody on listening to you, following you as an artist, what song would that be?
Mhm. Ooh, that's released, I would say, mm, I would probably say, my second to last release, was, called Lonely and Sad Girl. I feel like it was very, I wrote it a long time before I released it, but yeah, I really wrote that, and I feel like it embodied me a lot. It really made me kind of deep dive into my emotions and I wasn't so focused on like, okay, like let's get this structure done, like let's write this verse and then this chorus and then this verse again. But I don't know, like I kind of just wrote it and I hit record and it ended up being like the most authentic thing to me. So, yeah, I would say probably Lonely and Sad Girl for sure.
Do you think that that is reflective of like your overall sound? Is it more reflective of like you as like a lyricist? Like what is it kind of what is it about that song
Hmm.
that you think is the one that would like sell people on you?
Hmm. I think definitely the lyrics. I think they're totally relatable, I guess, at least from my standpoint. And I guess the sound too, but I would say mainly the lyrics. And there's like a hook that says like when we sat eating kimchi, rearranging the songs for this EP. And I just thought it was like, I don't know, I that was like the first thing I really came up with for that song. And it was such a specific memory that I feel like I had that I definitely thought I would put that in there and people would be like, okay, like they kind of look past it, but everybody's really like, oh, I don't know, it resonates with people and I'm super happy that it has. So yeah, I would say definitely like the lyrics for sure.
It's interesting because it's always like the more specific the lyric gets, like that's why a lot of people are all over
Hmm.
Taylor Swift is because she tells such
Yes.
detailed stories in what she does.
Hmm.
And even though it's like that specific situation isn't
Hmm.
exactly something you've experienced, it's somehow still like the connection
Right.
point. So it's always the lyrics that you think are like too
Hmm.
detailed that like it's like very personal to your story.
Yeah.
That's what people latch onto for some reason.
I know, it's so funny, and that's so funny you say that because I was just listening to Cardigan by Taylor Swift, and I love her. But I know it's so interesting, like, especially having a theater background and, like, truly loving to storytell in, like, really any creative form. It's I don't know, it's so fun for me, and it's really difficult sometimes to, like, come up with such specific lyrics and then get in your head and being like, "No, like, people are gonna be like, 'What? This is weird.'" But yeah, it really is, especially nowadays, it's starting to be something that's, I guess, like, a little more normalized? I don't know, but people really enjoy that, including myself when, like, listening to others, so.
Do you think that there is like any not connection, but any sort of relation between like like is there anything within the music that you're writing and making now that you think is a hint at the fact that you started in musical theater? Like is there any sort of influence from that part of your background into the stuff that you're doing now?
Mm. I feel like not really except for Lonely and Sad Girl because of like the very specific lyrics and the very specific storytelling of kind of just like how I was feeling and yada yada yada. But um but yeah, I feel like for for that mainly like stuff would be more on the visual side. Like for like my music video I did for Copy, which was I released like last year or earlier this year. It's very just like I wanted like the visuals to be super like dramatic and dramatic makeup, dramatic clothes and like everything like that. So I feel like my theater side like definitely comes out in like more of that aspect, I guess.
Um, do you think that the songs like some for example like Lonely and Sad Girl, do you think
Hmm.
that's reflective of the sound that you kind of feel that you have as an artist? Like if you kind of do you feel like that like that is reflective of not only the songs that you've already also released but other ones that are yet to come, or do you think there's kind of like a turn and you're kind of taking it in a different direction?
Hmm. Um, I feel like from what I've been working on, like recently, I'm definitely taking a different approach sound wise, but I'm kind of taking the same approach lyric wise. So I still want to, write about specific things like what we kind of talked about, but I also like, I really want to take more of a different type of element. I've been doing a little bit more like dark pop, kind of like Copy, which is my old song. Um, kind of that more like alternative pop rather than Lonely and Sad Girl, which is actually a little bit like happy of a type of beat and melodic and stuff. So yeah, I would say lyric wise, yes, but sound wise, I think I'm taking it a little bit different for sure.
Not having the sort of instrument kind of ability to put together with some of your music, how do you go about figuring out what kind of instrumentation and things you're going to have on there? Like, is it like you have already that sort of like vision in your head, or is it more of like producer initial ideas? How does that process kind of work?
It's kind of both. I mean, I feel like it's a lot of starting with just collaborating with strictly like a producer, somebody that makes beats, and it could even be like super simple and kind of just adding like layer after layer after just having that foundation. And even like when I have the foundation, I can easily create like a melody, even start like maybe some lyrics, and then I'll kind of know like, oh, I want bass in this, or oh, I kind of want some like violin or something, I don't know. And yeah, I would say from there, yeah, it just kind of happens and more collaborations happen and it's super cool. But yeah, I guess it's kind of both. And I'm super like I love collaborating with people and I love to kind of let people be free and get everybody's like brains involved in the song process for sure.
Do you have a sense of kind of what you want it to sound like upon writing it? Like in that process, it's like, is it like as
Hmm.
you're writing this verse, you're like, oh, this would be great with that? Like, is there any of that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like I mean, I obviously take like inspiration from other artists as well. So like if I'm ever listening to music or like I hear something, even if it's like classical music or something, I always just like jot it down on my phone. And I'm like, oh, like I should really put like a violin on a song once again or something. And so I always kind of like, glance at my notes, see like what would go good in here. But yeah, sometimes the vision comes easier than other times. But I would say for the most part, I kind of am like, oh, here's what I want. And I try and make it sound like what I want as best as I can.
Since like being an artist isn't exactly the atypical thing, and it's not like your typical 9 to 5 where it's like you show up, you're there for eight
Hmm.
hours, you leave. How do you kind of find the balance and the time to kind of put into songwriting, recording, all that good stuff outside of just like regular life things?
Hmm. Oh, it's so hard. It is so hard, especially because I'm 20 and like I'm in school and I have like other stuff going on, so it really is hard, especially like just at this time of year and everything. So, I would say honestly, um, I don't know. I feel like I know what I want to prioritize and I know that I prioritize music over like a lot of other things in my life. So, yeah, and kind of just like I don't know, little things like involving it into your schedule. Like, oh, if you're just sitting there, like just an example, like waiting for class to start, like just jotting down lyrics or like, doing something, posting on social media, whatever. It's just like little stuff like that is what really I feel like matters. So I kind of just try and find little pockets of my day to do as much as I can. But of course, like other than that, taking breaks like mentally and to stay healthy, you have to kind of sometimes step away from the craziness and like actually have a life. So yeah, I would say that's those two things for sure.
Do you have any sort of like routine and things of like I dedicate like this afternoon out of the week or anything like that to
Hmm.
music, or is it just kind of like a free flowing like inspiration
Hmm.
strikes when inspiration strikes and we act on it if we can?
Yeah, I'm trying to be more go with the flow. I feel like that's for me how like creativity is best, like
Mhm.
I feel like I mean, like the best things, like I heard this from like Post Malone's like songwriter or something. I don't know. I was watching a video that like the best thing to do is just to do like a quick meditation and like record your songs. Like don't do anything prior to that stuff, So I feel like I'm trying to be a little bit more like, okay, when I'm inspired, then I'm inspired, even if it's at 4 in the morning or something and I have a song idea, like that's just how it is. And like unfortunately, that's just the reality. So, yeah, I'm definitely trying to be a little bit more like, or I guess less structured and kind of allowing myself to just like feel it when I feel it.
Have you written things at 4 in the morning?
Oh, of course, literally, like 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning, you know, that's the best time, that's about the time when it's good. So,
That's
yeah.
about as college as it gets, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, I know, literally, we make it work, we make it work.
This I can say that since I've left college, that's not something I would be drawn to do in any
Yeah.
capacity.
Hey, yeah, oh my gosh, college is freaking crazy. It's like sometimes I'm scared to leave and sometimes I'm like, no, I'm ready to leave. You know what I mean? Like I'm so looking forward to like after school and being able to like dedicate more time to music and stuff. So, yeah. Definitely I'm sure you can like relate, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 4 in the morning's not exactly a time I would desire to be awake.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it
It's rough.
happens. It
It does
happens,
happen. It does.
unfortunately.
Right. Ugh, gosh.
So, if you kind of like let inspiration strike when it strikes, then do you not
Mhm.
really have any sort of like if you like say you have like an empty afternoon and you're like, I
Mhm.
don't have any like school related stuff to like necessarily be doing, is that when you kind of like sit down and are like, I should write something? Because then it's
Mhm.
also like it's like, okay, you have the time, take advantage of it, but it's also like if you're not inspired, like it almost feels forced. So like how do you approach that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I do try. I mean, like I obviously like when it comes natural, but there are times like you said, like where I'm sitting down and I almost feel like I like have to do something with music or I'm gonna like really feel awful about myself. Like there's been times when I'm like or like I'm just out with friends or something and that's like all I can think about is I was like, Zoe, why are you doing music? Like you are literally like what is wrong with you? But so yeah, there's definitely like I feel like a weird guilt like thing. I don't know, it's weird. So I just feel like sometimes I have to, I guess. But yeah, I try and take time like that to really hone in on it for sure if I have downtime. Stuff like that I'll also try and of course, for artists, it's so easy to start something, but like it's so hard to finish something like a song. So like a lot of downtime, stuff like that, I try and like maybe finish up what I was doing or like, stuff like that, collaborations or like, you know, whatever.
How do you kind of decide what songs that you write are like how do you deem them release worthy versus not
Mhm.
release worthy?
Oh my gosh, I totally rely on others. Like I literally I'll get other artists like friends of mine that are artists, I guess, to listen or kind of like, oh, what can I do to make this better? Or like, stuff like that. So I definitely just, I don't know, I guess I just try and get more ears on it. Um, and that can be a little bit brutal, but it has to happen. So yeah.
But then obviously, I mean, you have the final say. Is it usually like
Oh
is
yeah.
it like have you ever had one where it's like everybody loves it, but you're like, I don't know that I really like feel that
Yeah.
same way about the song, or vice versa, where it's like people
Hmm.
don't like it, but you're like, damn, I really liked that one.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like once you work on a song for so long and then you release it, or if it's just been like, yeah, like you've
Hmm.
been working on it for so long, you almost are desensitized to it. And it's just like, I couldn't like listen to my music and tell you if it's good or bad. Like, I don't know. I've literally like been so like, it's just so ingrained in my brain to the point where it's just like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. But yeah, definitely. It's always the weirdest ones that you don't think are gonna do well that do well. And that's like true. I always thought that was kind of BS, but that is true. So, yeah, I kind of, I guess, try and keep that in mind when I'm writing stuff too. But yeah, there's definitely been some stuff that people have liked, and I'm like, oh, like what? Or there's been
Why?
stuff people, yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. But and vice versa as well. I'm just like, what do you mean? Like this is a whole masterpiece, but they're like, no. Mhm. So yeah, that's kind of it's just so funny to be honest.
Yeah, no, you're probably the third or fourth person that's come on here and said that my like their personal favorite song is not the
Mhm.
one that's doing well. Like some people absolutely just
Mm-mm.
despise the song that they have that's sitting at the top of their profile.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. I know, even with, like, big celebrities too, they feel the same way. Like, it's always just like, ugh, it's so weird. I don't know. So, it's definitely interesting though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we see our own work in a different way. Like I will never be able to listen
Mhm.
to my music, even if it's like in the flow of like a bunch of different artists. Like mine
Right.
just right in the middle. I can't listen to that and hear it the same way that I hear everything else because
Mm,
I
yeah.
did that. And so
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, but it's still just like, wait, this is the one that I like, and you're trying to tell me that this one is your favorite? That doesn't
Yeah,
make
I'm like,
sense.
yeah, I'm like, "Okay, you're talking crazy, talking crazy."
It's like I've done a lot better, but if that's where you think
Right.
we're at, okay.
Yeah, right? I'm just like, "Damn, like, okay, is this what your high expectations are? Come on now."
Yeah. I don't know. If you could
Mhm.
open for any artist, who would it be?
Ooh, I gotta go on my Spotify, hold on. I don't know, I've been into so many people lately. Um, I'm gonna go with, um I'm gonna say the 1975. I've been so into them right now with their new albums, and they're like one of my favorite bands or artists. So yeah, I would say the 1975 to be honest. Even though our music is like kind of similar, but, like not like completely similar. I'm a little bit more pop, and they're like more band and alternative and stuff. But yeah, I love them. So yeah, 1975.
I don't think that's an answer I was expecting.
Right? I know, literally, but I love them. Do you listen to them or no?
I listen to them somewhat. I'm not a
Somewhat?
diehard fan or
Right,
anything
right.
like that, but I am aware of
So
their
good.
music at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, for sure. The Tumblr era.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Mhm.
Um, what is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Um, oh my gosh, I don't know. Um, hmm, I feel like it's kind of like my combination of like things within my brand. Like I also do like once again like acting and theater, and I feel like you can really see that in kind of like my visuals more, not really my music, but like my visuals and kind of like, my album art and stuff like that. But also I'm kind of taking like an editorial approach, but also having like pop music and music that's like a little bit more I don't know, like I guess commercial type of music. I feel like I just have like so many different combinations of things, and it's different from like anybody else out there. So yeah.
So just kind of as a collective like persona, if you will, is just kind of what
Hmm.
do you think?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say also like kind of my meshing of like genres, because like I make like pop music, but it's also a little bit of like dark pop, and it's a little bit of like indie pop, and it's a little bit of like hyper pop also, and like UK garage, and like my different like literally like almost all my songs are kind of like a different genre. And I don't know, maybe that's not a good thing for like my branding, but yeah, I would just say stuff like that too for sure.
Do you think that there's a strong alignment between your visuals and like your music? Because you've said a couple of times
Hmm.
now that the theater stuff shows through more visually, and obviously it's
Hmm.
easier to show through more visually. But do you think that those like align very strong? Like what we're seeing visually is very representative of what we're hearing?
Hmm. Honestly, not really, to be honest, because I feel like I make kind of like chill music. I don't make like super, super upbeat like pop music. So I feel like the dramatic visuals and like the editorial type of things, like I love Pinterest and everything like that. It weirdly like does align with like the vibes, but it doesn't align necessarily with like the song and kind of like the feel of Yeah, the song. That doesn't make any sense, but, like,
No.
yeah, I guess I would say, like, no, it doesn't align, in my opinion, which is interesting.
I was gonna say, why do you like then I guess because usually like visuals are inspired then by the music that
Mhm,
they're then accompanying because it is music first, everything else second. What is
mhm,
it that inspires those kind of visuals then if it's kind of contrasting from the music? And do you
mhm,
think there's a benefit from it being contrasting from the music?
mhm. I think there is a benefit for sure. It's kind of just like, "Oh, not really expecting," you know what I mean? So I definitely think it's kind of it is a benefit, I would say. But, I would say I don't know, like, I get a lot of it, like I said, like, from Pinterest or, like, online or influencers I love or art like, my mom does art, like, she's an artist, she does, like, a lot of pottery and, like, paintings and stuff like that, so I've gotten a lot of inspiration from her and, kind of, like, what she creates and everything, so, yeah, I would say that's a huge inspiration of mine.
Do you think that it makes it more memorable when you're hearing this and you're seeing this?
Mhm. Um, yeah, I feel like it does, at least for me. I guess it's different for everybody, you know? But, yeah, I feel like it can be memorable. It can just be, like I said, like, just kind of not what you're expecting, especially kind of when you're just, like I hate to go here, but, like, when you're a young girl in, like, the music industry, and it's, like, people just expect, like, "Oh, like, you know, I'm just gonna shoot this music video and it's kind of gonna be like, oh, I'm just pretty and like that's kind of what people like want you to do, I guess, like I should say. But it's definitely super cool and like I think empowering to kind of I guess do something different and embody like all that kind of stuff. So
I mean, fair enough.
right.
I mean, it's what you make it out to be. So it's there's
Exactly,
no right or
exactly.
wrong, which can be
No,
a blessing and
definitely,
can be a
definitely.
curse. So,
Definitely, definitely.
what overall impact do you want to have with your artistry, with your music, with all of it?
um I think this is so cliche. I think I want to inspire other people for sure to write music and I really want people to feel the way that like I feel about artists that like I look up to. I of course like I want people to feel that way about me. I want people to know that like you can do music like it's really honestly like it's really not that hard like I feel like people look at making music as like this huge thing like I know so many people that want to do it but they just feel like they couldn't and I'm just like kind of like a normal like person like I'm from a small town and you know whatever and I was able to do it and I was able to do it by myself and I want people to know that and I want people to understand that they can do it too. But I also want my songs to kind of, you know, mean things to people, and I want them to relate lyrics to their own lives as well, and you know, feel out all the stuff, the usual.
Feel out all of the stuff.
Feel out all the stuff. Yeah, that's my answer.
That's the mantra is feel
Yeah.
out all the stuff.
Yes. No matter what you're feeling.
All the stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us to the last question, which is kind of the whole meaning behind the podcast in itself. Why
Mhm.
music?
Mhm. Oh my gosh, I have to cough. Hold on. That was gross. Um. Well, I just feel like it's a great way to storytell. I feel like it's an amazing art form. And I think it's an intimate art form. I feel like when you're making music that once again has like such specific lyrics and such a specific story. It's almost like and I felt this way when like listening to artists as well. It's like they're speaking to you and it's just I don't know it's I think it's amazing and you know you're reaching people like from all over the world that are listening to your song and that are relating to it and that are crying to it or laughing to it or whatever I think that's amazing like that's just like beautiful to me like that's just like a universal language that we can kind of all speak I guess
I mean, well said. I mean, it
right
is like you said, it's
getting
an art
poetic is
form.
fine yeah for real landed
Yeah.
on thick.
Exactly. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Why Music podcast. Check back again next Tuesday for another conversation with another artist. Thanks for listening.